On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're taking you inside designer Cate Dunning's darling Cape Cod cottage in Georgia. Having been in her family for generations, Cate renovated the home to uplift its original integrity and history. Inside, you'll find beautifully layered patterns, vintage art collected from French flea markets, and grand millennial-inspired decor. Blushing pinks, robin egg blues, and periwinkle purples coat the walls and serve as the perfect modern twist to Cate's love for traditional furnishings. A surreal mural wallpaper anchors the kitchen, the heart of Cate's home. Enjoy! But first, a big thank you to Thrive Market for sponsoring today's episode. Hi everyone, I'm Allison Kenworthy, the founder of Homeworthy, and today I am very excited to tell you all about Thrive Market, which is where I got these delicious groceries and snacks sitting in front of me. They're an online membership-based grocery store making healthy living easy and affordable for everyone. And they guarantee savings on every order. I saved more than $57 on just these items here. I want to walk you through some of the things that I got. So I got a few staples just like tomatoes, tomato sauces, some sweets. Don't judge me, I already finished a whole package of these little smart sweets. Some tikka masala to marinate some chicken in, some fancy olive oil, some fancy hazelnut chocolate spread. I couldn't resist this salt, which I thought looked kind of delicious. French onion fried, wait, what do you call these? French fried onions to put on top of a salad. So for me, what's great about this company is that instead of schlepping all over New York City trying to find all of these specialty items in different stores, I can order everything online. And because I spent more than $49, it ships for free, no additional costs, no tipping, straight to my front door. So it really couldn't be easier. And then you just get this happy little box full of delicious food. Click the link in my description box or go to thrivemarket.com/homeworthy to get 30% off your first order and a free gift worth up to $60 when you join Thrive Market today. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Like and subscribe for more.
Hey there, Homeworthy. I'm Cate. Welcome to my family's Georgia home. My name is Cate Dunning. I'm an interior designer, and we are in my Cape Cod cottage in Decatur, Georgia, where I live with my 2 puppy dogs, my 2 children, and my sweet, sweet husband. This house is insanely special to me. I am head over heels in love with my house and have been since as long as I can remember. This is my grandmother's house, my mom's mom. My mom lived here with her family from about the early 60s on. So my family, my mom's side grew up here, and I grew up coming here for Christmas, and probably every other week we were here. And when my grandmother passed away, I bought her house, and now I'm able to raise my family in it, and it means I am obsessed with being here. There's such a spirit and an incredible soul here, and my husband lets me run wild with interior design craziness. He does more than lets me run wild. He encourages it, and often comes in with his engineering ideas, and we compile cool things to do together. And now we have 2 kids and 2 dogs, and the spirit just keeps layering on top of each other, and it just makes my heart happier every single day. So this is the dining room, which is actually the entry to the space. So we jokingly call this our foyer. When this was my grandmother's house, this was the living room. So I can't remember, I think the TV was over there when they were here, and they were built-ins. Now that we have a much bigger living room since we added on in 2019, this is our very spacious dining room, which is great because we still host a bunch of friends and family. We've gotten to do Thanksgiving once. We have a huge Christmas party. Easter's here, which is fantastic. So we have all this space for a kid table to expand this table out. This buffet is one of my very, very, very favorite pieces of furniture. This is my first big girl purchase. We got it at Scott's, and I love it so, so much. One of my favorite features is this little hidden wine storage down here that makes me very excited. And these sconces are some of my favorites as well. The rest of this has my grandmother's cut glass collection and Molly, my daughter, my 3-year-old, her tea set. She takes her tea very seriously. And even though this is in the dining room, we take it out all the time. It's just so adorable. We're big tea drinkers. We're of the British Isles. We're Irish, so I probably shouldn't say British. We kind of don't like them. The dining table is gigantic. It's kind of our only in progress piece of the room, since it is actually our old kitchen island. This is a couple of pieces of IKEA countertops smashed together, and it has adjustable base, so it can be island height, countertop height, or it can drop down to table height. So after the renovation, we just moved it in here to have a big old dining table. And eventually I want to get a big, beautiful table. But for now, I can do really fun tablecloths. So for Molly's birthday, we did some Liberty fabrics on it. This is an S. Harris fabric called Mega Chintz that I'm obsessed with. It is mega huge, and it has big old bright flowers on it. This one in the middle with the hot pink on it is my favorite. And I'm actually going to use this for a shower curtain upstairs. But for now, it is our pretty tablecloth for the dining room. It's pink. That's one of my favorite things, is that it's pink. As I spoke about earlier, my husband is so sweet and just encourages me to take risks and be fun. And he was very into letting me do this pink. It is Blushing by Sherwin-Williams. And it's kind of this light coral color pink, and it makes everybody really pretty when they're having dinner in here, as do these incredible Jim Thompson drapes that I would eat, but you would see the marks if I did that. These are Jim Thompson silk, which is just, one of my favorite things. 2 more things I want to mention in here are these peacock chairs. I love a peacock chair. It is reminiscent of Charlene's chair in Designing Women, if anybody recalls that magnificent show that inspired me as a designer. These chairs are 1920s, and I upholstered them in vinyl on the seat and satin on the back and on the outside back. So they look really luscious, but they're actually super durable because we have a good time in this room. Taking over the house, I think, is a really careful process, because my family's all here in Decatur, which is just a little pocket right outside of Atlanta. We're Atlantans, we're Decatur dwellers. And so my uncles, my mom's 3 brothers all live in the same area. And so we all still come back here. So it is a responsibility in taking over the house. And so I was, at first, tread very lightly. We also had very little money when I first bought the house, so there wasn't much that I could do to the house. But at first I tread very lightly, and my uncles very quickly were like, do it, go for it, do something. My godmother, who's my mom's cousin, was kind of the financial behind us buying the house. And so she was also part of that. So when we first bought it, we took up the carpet. There was emerald green carpet in the now dining room. It was the living room at the time. And we did like little things like that because there was hardwood under it, and we repainted and kind of made it ours. This is our breakfast room, which is really where we dine every day. And it is the joke in my family, which I'm sure is the joke in most people's family, is that everyone's always in the kitchen. And in this being a family house, the kitchen has expanded several times. When we get to the kitchen, I'll show you how small it was and how big it's become. So I'm so glad we popped out to create an actual breakfast room. Still, people remain in the kitchen, which is great, very productive. I don't cook, so I don't really care. But the people who do cook get very irritated. So we have this spacious Breakfast room. This is a great place when people are standing in here. People can still dine. We've surrounded it in windows, which is magnificent for all the light to come in. This dining table is not the nicest thing in the room, but it is one of my very favorite things, and we use it often with Cate Dunning because it's a great table for kids. This is a stylish, classic tulip table, but it's super durable, and Molly can do whatever on it, color on it, even though we don't allow that. That still happens, and it cleans up really quickly, and it's great for circulation. I love a settee, a built-in, a sconce. I love nooks. I say that all the time. So I was dying to have a settee in the breakfast room. When I was pregnant, I remember my mom cooking in the kitchen, and I was just lounging on the buffet, feeling awful with morning sickness. Preemptively, I think, listening to Christmas music. So it has this like great come on in feel that's awesome. So sometimes, like this morning, I can remember Molly and Chris and I were all sitting on one side of the settee, kind of facing this way, and it's great. So we all kind of gather around this. It has an indoor-outdoor fabric on it that's really, really durable, and it's traditional. So I like that kind of juxtaposition of this modern and traditional. And then these really comfortable chairs that have some cane on them. So this is a great mix of weirdness. I know I'm not talking about the elephant in the room, which is either the wallpaper or the fella over the settee. The wallpaper was actually the last thing we did in this room. Shocker. It kind of found me. It is Cole & Sons, and it's this incredible mural that I love so much. It just connects the entire house. When you can look from the breakfast room into the dining room, you can see the drapes, the pretty mustard silk drapes, but you can also see into the living room and see the blues and greens, and it just really is everybody's friend that brings everyone together. I love it. Then we've got Clarence. This is Clarence over the settee. He is put over the window because we needed a focal point. It was just like windows, windows, windows. I know, I'm complaining about windows. What the heck? We pulled him at Cate Dunning for something where we were looking for a lot of portraits, and I just fell in love with him. We've called him a lot of different things, but Clarence is really stuck, and I love that Molly calls him Clarence. I think it's the cutest thing. The feeling I definitely want when folks walk in is come on in. Come on in, take your shoes off, get a drink, snuggle in, chat, be comfortable. That's definitely the feeling. My design style is so hard for me to narrow down. I am traditional at heart, but I'm definitely a weirdo in there. There's a granny who lives deep inside me who is getting bigger and more flamboyant all the time. I love funky, weird things, and I very much appreciate modern. So there's a lot of different things, and I'm not 100% sure that our clients are always worried about things flowing. Will it flow from room to room? I'm not so worried about it, and I think it kind of shows, but it makes my heart happy. Okay, so this is the kitchen. This is definitely, for us, the whole idea of it being the heart of the home is true, 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 true. I do not cook, but my husband literally bakes fresh baked cookies every single night, which is amazing. Thank God I don't eat them. So I became obsessed with mosaic tiles that they started to use in the 20s, even though this house was built in the 50s. I wanted to keep that tradition going, even though it's not in my house. And here's this incredible runway that now my child does hopscotch on, which makes me so, so happy. It's like a runway of incredible imagination that can be happening. This is not the original floor. It was probably linoleum, but this is the original kitchen. What's fun about this room is that it actually ended at this beam. So when my mom lived here with her brothers, it was just this quadrant, and this laundry closet was not here. I cannot open this for you. A lot of things will fall on me, so I can't do that. And then we opened it up and made this big kitchen, which is just so important for life. The countertops are soapstone. I'm obsessed with soapstone. I love that it takes on a spirit. There are scratches in here. There are places, I remember the first Christmas, my brother-in-law opened a bottle of wine. I actually wasn't here, but he opened a bottle of wine and left a ring on the table and was all worried about it. And I'm like, no, that adds to the story. Like, we love having a story in it, which is, it's great because it kind of stops people from having to worry about messing anything up. Yeah, the laundry doors are one of the DIYs that my husband and I did together. So I've mentioned that my husband knew what he was getting into. We got married at the same year that Latham and I started Gordon Dunning. My name actually wasn't Dunning at the time that we started Gordon Dunning. So he knew what he was getting into. He knew he was getting an interior design wife, and he has really bought into letting me do what I want to do, but also do his work. So we created these laundry room doors together. He actually made those holes and painted them and did all that beautifulness. So we love that focal point now looking from the living room. It wasn't as pretty before. It was like some bifold builder ickiness before. Making this feel more like a living space is definitely intentional. We joke all the time. Our director of operations keeps joking that she is starting a movement about islands out of living rooms. And I think the open concept is great for function, but it is starting to it's putting all this utilitarian and comfort all together. So we wanted this to feel a little bit more like a living room and a little bit more historic. We added the hardware on the cabinets on the island is different from the hardware on the perimeter, which is part of telling that story. I think it's obvious to everyone this wasn't a giant chest, but we wanted it to kind of have that idea. So you also notice that there's nowhere to sit on the side of the island, like you see a lot of islands with an overhang for folks to sit. This is all storage, all a big work table, hard-working space. I need to get people out of the kitchen. I do have a couple of little stools on the end in case somebody like me wants to sit on the end and drink wine while your husband chops things. I really do a lot for our family. It sounds like I don't because he cooks a lot. He's very helpful. I really appreciate him. This is our daughter. Well, it's going to be both of our children. We have a 12-week-old and a 3-year-old. This is a perfect example of my husband's and I working together. I obviously love design and very aesthetically motivated, if you will. And we have a smaller house. We don't have a playroom. We don't have an extra space. So everything needs to function and be pretty at the same time, which is what good design is all about. So Chris and I built this little kitchen, which is definitely inspired by the British Cottage, a little bit of a Duval kitchens feel. This is her little pretend LeConte range, and it just brings me so much joy that it exists. There's walnut countertops. This paint color is Foxhall. And then there's this wonderful fabric for her little drapes and her teeny tiny place to keep all her little toys. It's just so sticky cute. Guess what? She never ever uses it. But it sure is cute in our kitchen, and sometimes people sit on it. Maybe Sullivan will enjoy it. I have always wanted to be an interior designer. The story is that I would pitch rather large fits when I was a child, which now that I have a 3-year-old, I think that's probably true because it's happening now for me. And the only thing that would calm me down was the wallpaper. And luckily I was born in the 80s, so there was a good bit of wallpaper. And so my grandmother on my dad's side was a Southern lady, and she said she's going to be an interior decorator. Now, I don't remember when that story was told to me. It may have been later after I'd already decided what my major was. No, probably not. It was probably my teens. But I definitely loved interior design and loved rearranging my room, and just the hotels were always so exciting. I always wanted to go to other friends' houses to see the inside of it. So design has always been the plan. I majored in it in college. I haven't done really anything else. I worked at Moe's in high school, but that's it. This is our living room. This is all new. This is where the expansion starts that we did in 2019. I wanted it to feel old, so there's a lot of things in here that we did to make it feel older. We added picture hanging molding and hung as much of the artwork from that as we could, but it doesn't actually need to be here because that's drywall. It's all a lie. This is a huge Dunning project where we did this fireplace. My husband does prosthetics and orthotics, so he makes fake legs and arms for people and works with plaster. So he got very excited and we built this fireplace together, and he did a plaster overlay over the top of it. I designed it and we built it together, and then he plastered it. And so it has this real, almost like living, breathing finish, and then just let it drip on the fireplace. So it looks older, but also kind of modern. This brick right here that actually has a little bit of crayon on it, probably from when I was a kid. Drury is my maiden name, and my family up in Vermont had a brickyard. So this is a cool little homage back to that. I think somebody had it hanging somewhere at one time. I think that's why that's like that. So in this room, well, throughout the house, I really wanted to focus. I still want that come on in feel, that definitely like come on in and sit down, but it needs to be fabulous because it does. So I love hanging, I'm obsessed with china, and I love hanging plates and even teacups and things like that on the wall, but they tend to be a little bit more traditional. So I looked for these spackle plates, and I think these are actually melamine. They're not fine china by any stretch, and put them around the convex mirror to kind of knock down that formal feel a little bit. I love me a Federal mirror a lot. I don't know when I learned about them, probably design school, but it feels like I've known about them for a really long time. I love that they have 13 balls for 13 original colonies. It makes me want to sing, what's that? Schoolhouse Rock. 13 original colonies. I don't know, something like that. The built-ins being they're actually not built in, are etagères sitting on top of cabinets. The etagères were created by a company called Lehman Luther. They have done a lot of great work, but they work with people who have, are on their way out of incarceration. So they are giving them opportunities and helping them get a trade and that sort of thing. And it's incredible what they're able to build. So Latham and I used one of them actually in a show house. And so they built me another one to put in my house, and I'm obsessed with them. I think they're so, so pretty. A couple of things on these built-ins that I'm excited about. There's tons of books that I've collected or are part of my grandmother's library or have been gifted to me. There's all of that, pictures of our family, et cetera, et cetera. This is one of my favorite things. It's actually not mine. I borrowed it from my mother 12 years ago, and she knows it, and she hasn't taken it away. But it is a part of the Lowe's Grand where Gone with the Wind premiered in Atlanta in 1939. And I just think it's a really cool piece of history and architecture and film history that's just really cool. Other things I love about this room, there's so much layer and story in here. It's our living room. We live here. Just, there's so many things. This chair is one of my very favorites in the whole world. It is not comfortable to me. I am too short for this chair, but it is comfortable to other people. This is an original Hans Wagner Papa Bear chair. It was my grandfather's who taught me about architecture, design, and style. My maternal grandmother taught me a lot about style, but granddaddy taught me about snobbery, really. That's what he taught me. And my grandparents on my dad's side lived in Saudi Arabia for 10 years before they had children, and traveled the world and picked up a lot of really cool things and picked up a lot of really cool experiences and perspectives. And this Papa Bear chair was picked up when they were in Holland or the Netherlands. Anyway, it's amazing. And it was this avocado green, which was perfect, but it smelled a little bit, so we had to re-upholster it, and it's in this luscious cornflower blue, and I'm obsessed with this chair. I like to look at it. I don't like to sit in it. My husband likes to sit in it at his very big 6'2". I want to have pattern on pattern on pattern. That makes me happy. but I want also some durability. So our sofas are upholstered in a Krypton linen. They're Lee Industries, which is like indestructible, which is great for kids. We have 2 dogs. We have lots of wine drinkers. This is the appropriate thing to have. But I want pattern on pattern on pattern, and I needed some color. So I got these Suzanis. They're untraditional colors in the Suzani world. I got a mostly green one and a mostly blue one, and they just add to the layers of the space. So I can have my pattern sofa, but if the kids are sitting on it and eating their chocolate chip cookies, then I can take it off and they can ruin the rest of the upholstery. If something does happen to the upholstery and it gets nasty, I can put my Suzanis back on. So it's practical and really, really pretty. This room started though with this pillow. This is my granny that lives inside of me, and I love the combination of colors. I love this icky, weird, gross, ugly brown green. It's a gross color by itself, but I think it is so cool with the cornflower blue and the velvet piping. It feels very sophisticated, but also kind of weirdly ugly. So you have to get it to appreciate it. All of our art has a story, mostly. Now, as I'm standing in front of this is probably the least storied. It looks like it has an incredible story. It's exuding story, but I actually don't know what it is. I picked it up from Holland & Company. They were doing a sale, and I know that they're beautiful French art pieces. I don't know how old they are, and I want to know their story so desperately. I do not want to frame them. I love the raw edges on them. I just have to get my 3-year-old to quit trying to stick her finger right there. That's a real problem. And we have the thermostat right in between. That's one reason why we liked the hanging from the ceiling, so we could overlap stuff like that. I actually did this piece. This is a view from my parents' farm in Elberton, Georgia. And honest to Pete, we needed a really big piece there, and it was cheaper to make one than to get one. The rest of the art in this room is either from a French flea market that Latham and I were at on a trip in Paris when I was pregnant with Molly, and we went to this flea market, and it was freezing, and this woman had a heater, and so we sat in her booth for a really long time. And there's several pieces from there that are here. 2 of these naked ladies. I really dig these naked ladies because they are not the most felt, and I like their body positivity. It's just kind of a little wink at that. One of her other pieces is up there, and then this piece, I can't remember the name of it right now, but this piece was gifted from my cousin to my daughter, and it is an Irish drum, and I cannot remember the name of it, but it's a pretty cool thing that she actually hasn't discovered yet. So, and I will give it back to her, but for now, it is art on our wall. It's in 3D. Okay, welcome to this echo chamber that is also the powder room. There's not a lot to say about this room other than the fact that it is my favorite room in the house. Pine hollyhock, which is this wallpaper from Schumacher in blue. I want to upholster the inside of my eyelids in it. I love it that much. It is so yummy and pretty. I have designed every room in my house around pine hollyhock, and this is the one that is one. We took the inkiest blue that's in this wallpaper and painted the door and the trim to try to funk it up just a little bit because she's a little granny, but she's nice and crisp. And then put as much reading material as possible for obvious reasons. So we've got all this Reader's Digest, which is kind of a little tongue-in-cheek joke. And then a bunch of magazines and more Reader's Digest down here. I say that I put this in here for obvious reasons, but I actually don't think it's that obvious. It's because it looks pretty, and I had it, and it was free. That's why it's in here. But I really like the juxtaposition and the fact that I have a vignette moment in my powder room. Here's the lovely toilet there. And then we have this pretty vignette over the pedestal sink. This is a Mount Vernon mirror that was my grandparents'. I love Mount Vernon's little roof up there is orange, and I just love orange and blue together. It just looks so pretty. And that's what I have to say about this room. My favorite thing about this house is its spirit, for sure, the soul and the spirit. I have just like maybe twice, probably when my children were born, had a moment where I felt more than at home, just more like where you're supposed to be. And so that's probably my favorite thing. But aesthetically, I can't pick. I love everything about my house. I think I love my bedroom the most and my very own bathroom. I'm one of 3 girls, and I wanted my own bathroom so desperately. And before we renovated, this house only had 1 bathroom. So my mom and her 3 brothers and her parents shared 1 bathroom. So when we first moved here, so did we. So I love being in my bedroom in my bathroom that is completely enveloped in this beautiful robin's egg blue. And my bathroom is so pretty. And I have my very own sink. And it makes me happy every single day. I love it. Welcome to our bedroom. This is the primary suite. I love, 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 love this room. I love the paint color that it is, trim walls, ceiling. I get made fun of all the time at Cate Dunning because it's one of my favorite things to do is to paint the trim walls, ceilings, door, every surface in the same color but different sheens. I'd say it's both Latham's my favorite thing to do, but I'm the one who gets the flack for it. And it's legit. It's definitely true. I like to do it. This one is White Blue by Benjamin Moore. It feels like living inside of a robin's egg. It is just so delicious and so exhausting to sleep in. I mean, you come in here and you go right to sleep. This looks out to our backyard. We have 2 French doors and a couple of windows there. It's just a lovely way to wake up. Our kids come in here in the morning on Saturday and we try to get them to sit in bed for as long as we can while we look at birds and just kind of like slowly wake up and have coffee, and it's just so wonderful. This bed was something that we used for a show house in the beginnings of Cate Dunning, and we had it in storage for a while, and a bunch of pieces got lost of the bed. And so we have the headboard and the footboard were left, and my husband and I cobbled it together. So now it is this beautiful 4-poster bed, but it's kind of little pieces that were once here. The art over the bed is one of the smallest pieces in our house, but it's my very favorite. It's by English Norman, and to me it looks like the morning of the pasture after a storm. And I'm a Southerner. I've always lived in Atlanta/Decatur area, so I assume this happens other places, but after especially a summer thunderstorm, there's this eerie yellow light that happens that kind of feels like the storm has lifted, and that's what that encompasses to me. It's just so good. The bedside tables are bedside tables. They have surfaces for us to put things on and charge our phone. There's really not a whole lot to that story. Sorry, everybody. This wall, though, needs some attention. In every primary suite that we work on, we always focus on the bed wall. What's the bed gonna look like? What's the bedding gonna look like? What do the lamps look like? What do the bedside tables look like? But that's not what you look at when you go to bed. So what this looked like was really important to me. And I think I nailed it. This secretary was my grandparents'. They had it in their front living room. It's a nice kind of petite size. This is where I catch up on my correspondence, which is a total lie because I am the worst Southern lady and never catch up on my thank you notes. But this is a hope that one day I will do that. Most of the time, it's covered in forms and things like that. So I guess it is still trying to catch up on my modern day correspondence. These bird prints are a French artist, and my favorite thing about them is this chartreuse stripe in them. It's just kind of, they're traditional, but they're weird. And one of my favorite things is grandma injected with color. And this hot pink, this kind of Pepto-y pink on the spoonbill. And then the chartreuse, it's just weird. I mean, he's such a weirdo. And I love that. I feel like I could have a conversation with him. And then we have the more traditional cardinal who is watching you so that he can tell Santa Claus what you've been up to. That's what we say in our house, that cardinals, I stole this from a client, cardinals are watching year round so he can tell Santa Claus what you've been up to. It helps us discipline year round. These chairs were also my grandparents'. There's a little dust on them. They were in a mauve and country blue plaid when I got them. And now they're in this stripy leopard print that makes my heart very full. I never sit in them, just like everyone else in their bedroom. They are for clothes. And now the most important part of this room, the bathroom. As I mentioned, I love having my very, very, very own bathroom. It is not, by many of our client standards, this is not a giant room, but for me, it's plenty big. I'm very, very lucky. We got our double sink. These are quartz countertops, so very durable. These mirrors are from a trip with Thrifting with Tyler. And Tyler is one of our dear, dear industry friends. He's one of the most delightful, fun, silly, intelligent, charismatic people. And he does a tour called Thrifting with Tyler on a bus where he takes you to haunts that he knows throughout Georgia, but I bet he'd do more in different areas. I think he's only done Georgia. We've done Tyler Goes West, Tyler Goes East, etc. And you go on this bus and you and all these people pick up all your stuff and put them in the bottom of the bus. And it is such a good time. Cocktails come out. It's so much fun. So we went to one haunt and I found this mirror for $50. And it was really cute. It was $50. Great. Moving on. Then we went to the next place and I found this mirror for $75. I should have had them price match, but I didn't. I was just excited about finding a pair. And it's probably not great how tiny they are. I wish they were just a little bit bigger, but I love their story. I love how they layer in this room that is otherwise very silver. I like adding all the gold in here. I don't have a glass shower door because I'm a shower curtain girl. Eventually, I will actually put up a really pretty shower curtain, but this is from a really fancy boutique. It's French. It's called Target. And that's what we have there. And then over the tub is another Cate Dunning original. This, again, was less expensive than getting another piece of art. This is from our old kitchen. It was a big old blank wall that just needed some love. And now it shields my naked self from my neighbors, which seems kind, especially after 2 children. And the light over the tub makes me really excited. I'm already planning when you guys leave to have a bottle of wine. A glass. A glass of wine when you guys leave in the tub. So that's why that's there. I'm gonna take y'all through my closet, and I would appreciate a small grace on this closet. I am very, very lucky to have a great big huge closet. I'm super excited about it, but it is messy, and a lot of the things that I didn't want you to see in the other room is in here. So come this way through the closet that goes to our nursery. A lot of things. And this is our nursery. We have now entered the old part of the house. This was my mom's room growing up, which is why I wanted it to be the nursery. It's also geographically desirable considering it can be right next to our bedroom. When we rebuilt the house, there was a window here, and so we just moved that opening over here as if it's that easy. They had to frame this up and put drywall and then cut into this wall. And it goes straight into our closet. So right now our son still sleeps in our room because he's so little, but when he does come in here, and when Molly was little, it was so nice to just be able to come through here when it was time to wake them up or if they were upset in the middle of the night. So this room is chock full of story. I just, there's a good feeling in here, especially because this is the room my mom grew up in. We've wallpapered it because it's just the cutest little thing. My nursery, I really wanted to feel like Peter Pan, Mary Poppins, feel like a real nursery where children grow up, where there's imagination and just that kind of sweet little moment. And then eventually you graduate from the nursery like Wendy and Peter Pan. So when this was Molly's, it was still the same colors, but we had it a little bit more pink in here. I am of the mind that nurseries are for the parents. Big kid rooms, as they get older, are for the kids, for sure. But this is where you kind of fall in love with your child and you spend a lot of time, so it's okay to design around oneself. So that's what I've done. I'm gonna just close this door so y'all can see that it's kind of hidden. This is our little jib door. So when he gets older and this is his room, we can kind of close this up and he has his privacy back, as do we. And this might be wallpaper, it might be painted by then. We'll see what he wants to do. I've decorated it a little bit. Little guy grows up to be an outdoorsman, I think, kind of inspired by Orvis, and great men who came before him. So his name is Sullivan, James Sullivan. This is his diaper bag. When Molly was in here, this would hang like outfits that she would want to wear. So she's really into ballet, so this would hang like a cute little tutu or something. He doesn't really have a lot of opinions about his outfits yet, so it just hangs his diaper bag for now. There's a couple of things on this bookshelf that have a lot of meaning to me. This mohair frog is, first of all, very strange. And he doesn't have a great viewpoint right now because you can see the underside of him. But he is stiff. Is that the word? Which is a old, really nice stuffed animal company. And he was my dad's. My uncle had a turtle and my dad had a frog. Actually, that's backwards. My dad had a turtle and my uncle had a frog, and my cousin and I got it confused. So she has the turtle and I have the frog, so we each have each other's uncles. It's funny. So now there's a little bit of Uncle Harley in this room, which is nice. And then there's pieces that we've collected at my parents' farm, like some hawk feathers and this beaver skull, that just kind of remind me of a natural history museum and hopefully will inspire our little guy to be adventurous and want to go out in the world. This rocking chair that's chipping a little bit, we'll just hide that, has been in my family since I would think the 1920s. So it was my mother's grandmother's chair in her children's nurseries originally. So whenever I'm in here with Sullivan or Molly, especially on particularly difficult mom days or when you're up really late feeding your babies, I think of all the mothers who did their mothering here in this chair. So my great-grandmother, my grandmother, my mom, and just all the babies that have been rocked here. So this is a perfect example of home, is this chair. It used to live in my room when I was a kid, and then it went to my sister's room. So at one time it was turquoise, and you can see some of the turquoise that's showing through, which tells my baby sister's story. Thanks a lot, Rem. I really wish it was white. We have blackout drapes in here, which is great for little kiddos sleeping. This piece over the crib is a Ray Harms. My grandparents were very, very, very much into Ray Harms, and they had a bajillion of Ray Harm bird prints in their house. And they're great, they're lovely. There's 5 granddaughters, and we've all taken what we can. So I've just got one, which is plenty, and I kind of love that little nod to them and to nature again. We have a deep love of birds and nature and travel and color, so that goes with Sullivan's little nursery. All right, this is my daughter Molly's room. This was my grandparents' room when they lived here. This was our room when we first lived here as well. So this is her big girl room. So this room I think is Wondrous Blue by Sherwin-Williams. My grandmother put up this paintable wallpaper at one time, and it's good. It has a lot of flaws, and so we've decided to leave that for a little bit. So we've painted the trim, the walls, the door, not the ceiling this time, in this blue color. I'm calling it blue, but if you would please refer to it as periwinkle, because I asked Molly several times what color she wanted to paint her room. She actually picked out colors from the Sherwin-Williams paint deck, and the day before we started painting her room, she said she wanted a purple room. So we have rebranded this room as periwinkle, because it is a blue with some purple tints to it. So this is a periwinkle room, in case anybody asks. These, if y'all don't know about these things, they're fabulous. Putting a little ledge and leaning your books on it. We always pick up Chris and I always pick up a children's book on our travels. And so we did this even before we had children. So we have Paris, we have London, we have Scotland, Rome, Maine, just a few of our collections. She hasn't really gotten into these books. She just all of a sudden started getting into Peter Pan, which is a little big for her. But it's really fun to have her have that little bit of story, and we've written her a little something in it. I guess we should do that for Sullivan too. This is another example of our designer meets engineer activity. This is an IKEA hack. We've got a couple of bookshelves on either side, and then an IKEA trundle bed. And then, because all children have a custom Schumacher scalloped coral headboard, we also added that, and some ridiculously large and colorful Lee Jofa pillows by Pillow Punk, by the way, and crazy sconces. So we played high-low for sure in this room. We did some IKEA, and then we did some designer touches because I just couldn't help myself in this room. Home is where you take your bra off, number one, if you choose to wear one. Home is where you can breathe, where you can 100% be yourself, and you feel relaxed. And I don't know that I'm sure that home is where the heart is, home is where family is, but this has been an extension of my home for so long that I do feel more at home here, even when it was not pretty, even when it was between Graham's stuff and my stuff. That's all I really got to say about home.
Thanks for watching. For more Homeworthy content, be sure to like and subscribe.